Yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, we'll have, roll call of attendance, please. Megan?
Mayor Harris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dixon.
Here.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Here.
Councilmember Newman.
Here.
Councilmember Webb.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All present accounted for. First off, before I do the mayor's welcome, I want to thank Vice Mayor Dixon for chairing the workshop meeting on June the 19th. I couldn't make it here, so thank you, Vice Mayor, for chairing that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to the monthly meeting of the Loudon City Council. My name is Mayor Jeff Harris, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Tennessee law gives every Tennessean the right to attend city council meetings and observe how their government operates. We appreciate that each of you taking time from your own personal schedules to be here tonight to see how your city government works. It's my intention as your chair that we create a space where everyone feels seen, heard, respected, and valued. You should have a copy of tonight's agenda. If you do not have one, you can pick one up on the table at the back of the room. This agenda is your guide to the topics we're going to be discussing tonight. In order to conduct efficient, business-like meetings, council has adopted some specific rules to follow. Primarily, these rules are designed to keep the meeting moving, assure that all points of view are heard and considered, and to provide for common courtesy. In a few minutes, we'll come to the place on the agenda entitled Citizens Input, where anyone who has signed in to speak to council is encouraged to do so. We do ask that you wait until you've been recognized before you speak. After being recognized, please approach the podium and state your name for the records. We ask that you follow 3 simple rules. State your name for the records, address all your questions to the chair, and avoid the use of improper language, profanity, or any other inappropriate conduct. Once the citizens' input portion of the meeting is over, the council will proceed with the remainder of the agenda. You're welcome to stay and observe the meeting, but be advised that any additional public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each and at the discretion of City Council. We ask everyone to remember we're doing the people's business here tonight, which is a very important responsibility for all of us. Please help us do this business by observing the rules we've established for our meetings. Again, welcome to the Loudon City Council meeting. I'm glad that you took time to be here tonight. Next item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as printed, or is there any changes?
Motion to adopt.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt. Have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, citizens input. The 2 that signed in have already spoke at the public hearing, so we're honored here to have our state representative, Lowell Russell, here, and I've also invited Brendan DeVore to be here tonight, and he's going to give us a little breakdown here in just a few minutes of the work the Drug Task Force is doing. So, State Representative Lowell Russell, thank you for being here and your support for Loudon.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the board. I appreciate each and every one of y'all for allowing me to be here. Listen to the prayer a while ago. It reminded me of my favorite Bible verse, Matthew chapter 5, verse 9. Blessed are the peacekeepers, for they shall be called the children of God. And tonight I'm here to read a state proclamation into record for the retirement of Kenny Ridings. I was wondering if it would be okay for him to join me at the podium here.
We have a presentation for Kenny as well. When you get through with that, I'll meet him up front here and we'll see if we can embarrass him a little bit more.
Great. This proclamation is from the state of Tennessee for the House of Representatives. It says, whereas it's appropriate that we should honor those citizens who have performed with uncommon devotion and enthusiasm throughout their careers in law enforcement, whereas Officer Kenny Ridings of the Loudon Police Department is one such individual who has devoted his life to the preservation of law and order and the protection of his fellow citizens, whereas after 37 years career with the Loudon Police Department, Officer Ridings is taking a much-deserved retirement, having devoted nearly 4 decades of his life to public service and law enforcement in the Loudon community. Whereas the sons Francis and Ted Snake Ridings, Officer Kenny Ridings is a lifelong resident of Loudon and Loudon County. Whereas throughout his distinguished career, Officer Kenny Ridings has demonstrated the utmost professionalism, ability, and integrity, winning the sincere respect and admiration of his colleagues and the citizens of Loudon City. Now therefore, I, Cameron Sexton, Speaker of the House of Representatives of 112th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, at the request of, in conjunction with Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, Representative Lowell Russell, do hereby proclaim that we honor and commend Officer Kenny Ridings on his career with the Loudon Police Department and extend to him our best wishes for much continued success and happiness during his retirement from Plain to Nashville, Tennessee. Congratulations, Kenny.
Well, if you and Kenny will join us up here. We have another presentation here. The city council voted to retire Kenny's firearm. So Kenny, we have that here for you, along with a gold coin, thanking you for your service. 37 years of service is a long time. So we thank you for that. Thank you. We can turn and get a picture, and I think we have some more that would like to have a photo with you. Okay. You have anything you want to say?
I won't get my picture, I won't get my picture made.
Okay.
I think his former boss wants a picture here.
We've been more than bosses over here. Thank you, Big Bird.
Did you get surprised?
With the box, yeah, I did. I like it. I know who made it. Darren made that, I guarantee you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Kathy, because I know it's a lot of stress on the spouse as well. So thank you for sharing Kenny with the Loudon City for 37 years.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny.
So Brendan, would like to invite you to come up, and many of you know Brendan. He's with the 9th Judicial Drug Task Force, and there's a lot going on in Loudon that we may not know about, and Brendan's group does a great job here. So Brendan, give us an update on what you know.
Sure. So for those that don't know me, I am the Deputy Director of the 9th Drug Task Force. I work directly for Russell Johnson, our District Attorney, and I've been in this position for probably about 11 years now. The task force that we utilize in this area consists of our local agencies, which includes Loudon City, as well as some of our federal partners and state partners that all kind of work in conjunction, and we are operated out of Lenore City, Tennessee. So we have been blessed by Loudon City Police Department over the years to have an assigned person to that unit, and it's produced a lot of success. So just over the last 12 months, just to give you some numbers about what we've seized, and when I tell you this stuff, we don't publicize any of this. So our stuff is not on the news, it's not on Facebook, and the main reason for that is that we utilize the information more discreetly in order to conduct further investigations, maybe even outside of our area, or push our federal partners to conduct those investigations wherever they might lead. And a lot of times if we reveal the initial information on the news or on a social media platform, it kind of inhibits that activity from continuing on. So it's a lot easier for us to just say that we conduct these activities but don't specifically talk about the people that are arrested. So the main drugs of concern for us here in this area is going to be fentanyl or heroin or methamphetamine. So just over the past 12 months, we've seized over 45 pounds of meth, which is a significant amount of methamphetamine. When we're talking about Loudon, Tennessee, or the surrounding counties that encompass the 9th District, that's a lot of meth. Our other main drug that we focus on being fentanyl, so we're up to, where are we at? 498 grams of fentanyl. All right, and for us, the main drug that we're finding involved in overdoses in our area is going to be fentanyl. So no longer do we have heroin showing up in the drug tests that we do. The Drug Task Force is able to, or was able to acquire a grant to purchase a machine that tests all these drugs for us at the office. And we do regular testing daily on these drugs, and the majority of these drugs that are coming back positive for fentanyl or some sort of analog of fentanyl. So fentanyl for us directly comes from Mexico, usually through Detroit, and then the analogs of fentanyl usually come to us through parcels. So postage, whether FedEx, U.S. Postal Service, or UPS through China. And that I know you guys, most of the people probably in this room as well as the council know that April is now currently also deputized through the U.S. Postal Service. And that's one of the main reasons for that deputization, is the access to their systems in regard to packages that are coming into our area that we can thwart from getting to somebody's house and it increasing the availability of that drug and then consequently increasing the overdoses that we are seeing on a regular basis. So we do seize marijuana still. Usually it's in bulk shipments that are coming in through a parcel delivery service, and we were over 1,000 pounds last year of just marijuana. The other drugs that we get smaller amounts of are things like MDMA or ecstasy. We were only at 12.1 grams of MDMA or ecstasy. But what was interesting about last year is we seized, this past 12 months, we seized 6 gallons of liquid meth, which is something new for our area. So in order for individuals to consume methamphetamine, it has to be in a crystal form. And this meth was shipped up through a parcel delivery service and sent to an address, and we intercepted it. And that liquid meth then has to be, through a chemical process, transitioned over to crystal meth. So Chief Webb can account to the fact that we had meth labs back in the day, and that kind of subsided because Mexico produced all of our meth for us. And now we're going to start to see meth labs in some form or fashion pop back up again because of that chemical process that has to happen to make that liquid into a crystal. There were other smaller seizures that were made, like promethazine. We actually seized quite a bit of it, over 2,000 liters, and that's the drug that's like a codeine syrup, and you might hear it in videos or music where they talk about it being incredibly popular. And it is. We have pharmacies that call us on a regular basis because people are coming up with fraudulent prescriptions trying to acquire promethazine from just the Walgreens across the street. We also had cash seizures. So we seized over $967,000 in U.S. currency these past 12 months. All right, a lot of those seizures are put into federal cases that take some time in order to get back. I mean, I think we just received one from 10 years ago that hit the account. So these things do take time, but the money does then end up coming back to the departments in order to utilize for drug programs. One of the main reasons why I did want to come up here, though, is because of the overdose problem that we're experiencing for the past couple of years and are definitely starting to see some serious effects in our city and in our counties over this past year. So last year we had 25 confirmed overdoses. That included about 7 here in Loudon City. And this year we're on track to do over 30 if it stays consistent with where we are right now. 90% of those are fentanyl overdoses. The drugs that are being supplied now by either Detroit via Knoxville to us or coming from somewhere like Atlanta, there's no quality control on the drugs that are being provided, and the pills that are being made in Mexico now and distributed in the form of oxycodone is what we're seeing on a daily basis pop up, whether it be through non-fatal overdoses or through fatal overdoses. And everybody sees them on TV in regard to the news or hears about them happening in someone's family. I struggle with the fact that most people don't understand the amount of work and effort that goes into these cases in order to try to prosecute somebody for either the drug distribution that occurred that caused the overdose or the potential second-degree homicide that we end up charging if we can follow that drug distribution to a specific suspect that sold it. And when I say investigations, I mean, I think that if we were at a position where Loudon City saw 15 homicides a year, that would be incredible, right? It just doesn't happen. We're lucky in the fact that we might see one, but it's not the norm. These investigations that we are conducting on these overdoses is very similar to what we would conduct in a homicide investigation, right? In order to eliminate the fact that we can't possibly charge somebody, we follow through the investigation as far as we possibly can, which means in homicide investigations, we would conduct phone toll analysis. All right, phones are kind of the gateway to investigations across the board, right? So we do analysis on their text message content and the content of their phones and the location of the phones at the time of a possible drug distribution, right? And then obviously with the times that we're in right now, we focus on social media, right? Because it's a huge way for people to communicate with one another, whether it be through normal friendship and conversation or the distribution of these dangerous drugs. So just to give you an idea of what a typical Facebook return is on someone's account, these investigators are reviewing between 30 and 40,000 pages of messages between periods of time that they get back in these sort of in these search warrants that are acquired for these social media accounts. It's just incredibly burdensome on these investigators. And the reason why I come and talk to you about this is because we struggle sometimes with proactive drug enforcement when we have overdose investigations that are consistently popping up. And we've had, I currently have 3 that I'm actively working. April Farmer has 2, and Cody has 2 that are active, that we have not charged individuals with, and we're working to try to charge for either the distribution of that drug or potentially for a second-degree homicide. And you spend a lot of your day just focusing on what you get back in a return from Facebook or from these phone companies in order to try to put those parts and pieces together that you would in a typical homicide investigation. So the purpose is not to ask you guys for anything, but just for a little bit of clarity on what they have to do on a daily basis. It's starting to take away from a little bit of what happened when I first got into narcotics, which was, I don't know, Chief, probably about 12 years ago. We were constantly out here on the street, and we were constantly executing search warrants, and we still do that. We indicted 20 in the last grand jury here, which was in May. So we are trying to stay as consistent as possible with proactive policing to try to thwart what's happening on our streets, and we will respond to anything that does occur that the city asks for, no questions asked. Everything else goes on pause when one of our participating agencies asks for assistance on any type of investigation. But they are definitely seeing a change in the day-to-day activities of what they're able to do because of these investigations. And at the end of the day, we have victims' families that are constantly calling, wondering, where are you at with the death of my son? Or where are you at with the death of my brother or sister or mother? And those do take somewhat of a priority. They don't take away from what we do, right, which is investigate drug crimes and attempt to slow down the distribution here in our cities. But I think Brian Jenkins, who's the CID guy here for the city, he would tell you that the majority of his investigations revert back to narcotics and drugs. It's just the times that we're in. So the thefts that are occurring, they're drug related. The home burglaries, they're drug related. The car burglaries, they're drug related. They all have a nexus back to drugs, right? And that's where we try to fill that void the absolute best that we can. And we couldn't be more lucky than have the crew that we currently have. They're not afraid to work, and they're not afraid to work as much overtime, and we will pay them for as much overtime as they want to work. So some people are putting in 70 to 80 hours a week to keep up with their caseload. So we are handling as much as we can, and I think doing a good job at it. I just feel like if this problem continues to get worse, it's going to change the picture of what we are able to do on a daily basis proactively in order to try to keep up with the amount of overdoses that we're currently getting. So just to give you a little bit of insight as to kind of where we are, you may not see our people out on the street as much, proactively making traffic stops or executing smaller search warrants. And the main reason is because we are having to clean up and clear up these cases that we currently have on our caseload to try to get some answers for the victims' families and to try to arrest some of these incredibly bad individuals that are distributing these drugs, which they know potentially, a high probability, could cause death. And then I also wanted to put it back to the council to see if there were any questions, because I know that a lot of the stuff that we do, you're not seeing it on a regular basis. So I want to clear up or answer anything that you guys might have for me.
Yeah, any questions for Brendan? I want to thank the council for, having the foresight to dedicate April Farmer to the drug task force. I'm sure former Chief Webb can tell the benefits of that he's seen. We do supply an officer there to that task force.
Well, what happens is our agency's so small, that it's just very important that we're able to, tap into the resources
Sure.
that Agent DeBoer's organization can provide us. The one question I was curious about, because of the potential danger to exposure to our first responders, to the fentanyl, you had a resource to provide us with Narcan. Is that still in good supply? That resource still there, so we don't ever run out of that?
100%. So the Loudon City Police Department just got resupplied with Narcan about 2 weeks ago. So yes, we consistently try to follow up with the agencies to make sure that they have updated Narcan that's not expired and as much as you possibly want.
Does Narcan work on all drug overdoses? Is there some drugs it doesn't work on?
Just opioids,
Oh, just
the only
opioids.
thing, right? So our oxycodones, our fentanyl, our heroin are the only things that Narcan's gonna work on.
Any other questions? Thanks for the work you do, Brendan, and
No problem.
your crew, and thanks for giving us an update.
Yeah, and have me back anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our May 22nd, 2023.
Mayor Harris, I would ask for a motion to adopt the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second from Councilmember Newman. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolutions that we have to vote on tonight. First one is a resolution to annex certain territory upon written consent of the owners and to incorporate the same within the boundaries of the city of Loudon, Tennessee, approximately 60.59 acres on Robinson Springs Road, tax map 47, parcel 29. We've had public hearings addressing this. EDA Director Qualls is here. If there's any questions, what's the pleasure of council on this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve the annexation. Do we have a second?
One second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? As I said, our EDA Director's here to answer any questions if there are any. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, resolution is awarding the bid for the 2023 asphalt resurfacing project to PRI of East Tennessee. You see, Engineer Hogan recommends this bid of $522,420 with a contingency of $27,580. There were 3 bids turned in. They were all qualified bids, and this is to line up with the utility board's water line replacement program. Had a chance to look over the information. What's the pleasure of council?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resurfacing project and award it to PRI of East Tennessee. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Yes, the only question I have since I wasn't here at the workshop, is 27, do you think that's enough contingency to cover this project? I mean, I know it's just a, guess, I guess, but, what's your,
Yes, sir, I think there's, the way the bid and the contract is structured, there are line items in the bid to address some unpredictability in the field.
okay,
If all of that is utilized, this contingency is only meant to address any quantities that may be actual versus estimated. So
okay,
it's a more of an accounting exercise of reconciling invoicing is what this contingency is for.
okay. Any other questions from council about the recommendation? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we have several ordinances here. Remind me to do roll call if I get sidetracked here. First one is amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. List of those amendments were given, including in your packet. Is there any questions about those? No, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve on second reading the fiscal year budget amendments. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Next ordinance is, the ordinance for the city of Loudon, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, ending June 30th, 2024. And there's a breakdown in your packet of what all that includes and, with the cost of living raise and things like that. So we don't need to go through all that.
Motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion to approve. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year budget July 1st, 2023 to ending June 30th, 2024. Is there any questions? I want to thank for all the work that's been put in towards that, and all cooperation from everyone that put that together. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, ordinance is setting the tax rate for tax year 2023 in the amount of 1.0993 per $100 of assessed value. What's the pleasure of council?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to set the tax rate. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next two items pertain to the amending the personnel rules and regulations of the city of Loudon. This has been discussed pretty thoroughly in different workshops. The first amendment is for the intent to prevent nepotism, so it's an anti-nepotism policy that's been tweaked and revised to the point that it's being presented now. So what's the pleasure of council on the anti-nepotism policy?
I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance on second reading.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to pass on second reading the anti-nepotism policy as presented. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon.
No.
Councilmember Newman.
No.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
3-2, thank you.
Okay, next item for second reading is amending the personnel rules and regulations of the city of Loudon. This is to add Veterans Day to the holiday list as a floating holiday, just similar to the 4th of July and Christmas. What's the pleasure of council?
I'll make the motion to approve that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions of how this day will be?
Mayor, was this, to add it as a floating day or as a the day of, or, the
It's
Friday
a
or Monday?
floating day, which is what was presented. So if it's on if Veterans Day is on Saturday, they get Friday. If it's on Sunday, they get Monday.
I got you, okay.
Because Veterans Day does. float
It's
around
always
like
the
that.
11th.
Good question. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Newman. Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Thank you.
Last ordinance for second reading is amending the zoning map of Loudon, City of Loudon, Tennessee pursuant to 13-7-203, 13-7-204 of the Tennessee Code Annotated to rezone property located on Robinson Springs Road, tax map 047, parcel 29, approximately 60.59 acres, to be rezoned from A1 agricultural forestry to district to P1 light industrial district. What is the pleasure of council?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rezoning request. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Newman.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions about that annexation and about that rezoning, which we already covered the annexation? This is just the rezoning. Any questions? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Newman.
Aye.
Councilmember Cardwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Webb.
Aye.
Mayor Harris.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for those, passing those ordinances. Next item on the agenda is just a motion to apply the State of Tennessee Federal Park Services Certified Local Government Program. I'll recognize our Councilmember Cardwell to make any comments if he needs to make about
No,
this.
as we said in the workshop, this is just the application process for the city to be a certified local government requires a letter from the mayor. So I'd like to, this time, make a motion requesting the mayor to sign the letter that's prepared by the Historic Planning Advisory Committee to start the process for approval for CLG.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say,
Okay, I have a second by Councilmember Webb. I'll be more than happy to sign that letter when it's drafted, and we'll get that process started. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. There's some appointments we need to make. Two of these require council's approval. They're reappointments to the Recreation Advisory Committee. We'll take them separately. The first one is Amy Millsaps. She's agreed to continue serving on the Recreation Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion to approve her?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next one for the Recreation Advisory Committee is Alina Mejia. She has taken her husband Eddie's place. She served out his term just a few months, I think, and now she's up for reappointment and has agreed to serve in his role, so.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve her. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The last one is just more of a housekeeping item. If you remember, for the Loudon County Solid Waste Disposable Committee, council approved, or I appointed Dave Hall to fulfill Councilmember Bivens's unexpired term, and it was just a few months. So now I'd like to present him to be, to fulfill that term. Yeah, I think it's a 6-year term. So it doesn't need approval. I'm just making, letting you know that I've appointed Dave Hall, reappointed him in that position. So just to make that a matter of record. Okay, that's all the appointments. Non-voting matter, fuel bid comparison, May 24th. The low bid for the purchase of fuel was received from Rogers Petroleum for the projected amount of $21,170. June 21st, the low bid for purchase was received from Rogers Petroleum for the amount of $20,954. Just a matter of information there. Department reports, so Director Brubaker, you have anything?
No, sir, Mayor, we do have, as we talked about last month, we have our voting codes department here. Y'all have any questions or feel like give an update on some of the activities they have going on?
Yeah, I apologize to Travis and Anthony for having them show up tonight. I bragged on them too much last month. And so council requested their attendance here, but I'm just telling you, these guys do a phenomenal job. As I said last month, when they go and knock on your door, it's usually, you need to cut your grass, or we're getting ready to write you a ticket, or something's out of whack. So they're not received too popular sometime. But does anybody have any questions for Travis or Anthony?
No, but I appreciate the work they do for the city, and they have long hours a lot of times. They're there, and we don't see nothing that they do,
Right.
but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes.
Well, looking good Loudon is more than just picking up litter.
Yeah.
It's making sure people keep the grass mowed, getting these houses or businesses 5 to fix, getting that whole process. And I know Attorney Fry helps us a lot with that. And that's a lengthy process that it takes to finally get something done. But how many have been off the list now? Travis, you or Anthony, have any?
I think I just looked at that, and it's 32 since
I mean,
2013.
they've either been fixed or removed or something. I mean, that's a huge.
There's 12 remaining.
So, I mean,
Plus
that's.
whatever, you know, if you guys come across something and we haven't noticed, we look for your input and
Mhm.
just let us know, and we'll.
I mean, that's either removing a damaged or dangerous structure or getting it fixed up where it's within codes and those kind of things. So, I mean, all those things working together helps us keep Loudon looking good. So, goes without saying, I really appreciate them. So I think it's good that they're here. If anybody has any questions for them or. Okay, all right, thank you for the work that you guys do. Mark's not here, so we cut about 10 minutes out of the.
At least.
All right, Mr. Hogan, you have anything to bring up?
I'd just like to add what Travis and Anthony do as part of the development team, you know, that we have, the coordination they do with me and the utility board, you know, is part of responsible building and codes and but they also play a big role in site engineering and utilities to help us wrangle some of those players and the tough work that is. I just want to recognize.
Good teamwork.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. We do have the chairman of the utility board back there, Mr. Pino Campbell. Pino, you have anything? I know they didn't meet this month, but, nothing? Okay.
Talking to me, Mayor? You know,
I
I have a little bit of a
I
problem.
do, and we weren't making any eye contact there. So, just recognize you, glad you're here. You have anything you want to present to council?
Right on, thank
Okay.
you for recognizing.
Just want to give you an opportunity. Eddie, anything from the beer board?
Yeah, I've got an update on the two underage sales.
Okay.
We've got a $2,000 civil penalty, which will go not just to the general fund. And then we both warned that was our last time. The one that we thought we were going to revoke, there was question on whether it had actually changed ownership or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we went with the $2,000 civil penalty and told her that there
She-
wouldn't be any question.
She knows the next time it's what's gonna happen.
Both places would be revoked.
Okay, just a matter about the beer board, if you know of someone, Mr. Lovelace is asked to be replaced, he's served on there. Do you know how long John Lovelace has served on the beer board? 20-something years maybe?
No.
Not that long.
Not that long. Maybe 10.
Okay, we need to, his appointment comes up next month and he's asked to be replaced, so if you know of anyone, or, you know, I'd be glad to talk to anyone that, someone wants to recommend there. So we'll be looking for someone next month for that appointment. Thank you, Eddie. Any other department head? Don't see any, so, all right. Next item is, councilman reports. Councilmember Newman, you have anything to report from Recreation Advisory?
Do not,
Okay, all right. Vice Mayor Dixon, you have some planning commission reports?
I do, we have one, that came to the meeting, preliminary subdivision plat request, for Tennessee National, part 20 and 21. Applicant was Casey Tyree, tax map 23, partial lot. That was approved by the planning commission.
Do you remember how many units that was?
Let's see, 46. I can tell.
$40 or so, looks like.
I want to say,
I think there's more than that in
I
there.
want to say there were 60.
See, okay,
I believe that's right.
okay. I just wondered
I believe
what the
there
number
were
was.
60.
Okay, anything else from Board of Zoning Appeals or
That's all,
anything?
we didn't have.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Webb, Historic Zoning?
Yeah, we met on June the 7th, and we had one request for the appropriateness. There was a gentleman wanted to put an outbuilding on a home on College Street, and you know, when you talk about what Travis and Anthony do, you know, that's a big resource. I'm sure for the Plan Commission, Vice Mayor Dixon can probably attest to that in the historic zone, because they know all the codes and the setbacks. And so anyway, this gentleman needed to go before the Planning Commission, and so we approved his certificate. A contingent on that, as I understand the Planning Commission, I think maybe put him off until next month. So that was the only thing that we had. Then, of course, Councilmember Cardwell came to us because the program that he wants us to get involved in, we needed to have the Historic Zone Commission on board with that. So-
Right.
So
Okay,
that's all we had for this month.
okay, thank you. Councilmember Cardwell, do you have anything from?
As you said, utility board didn't meet this month, so no report there. The visitors bureau, we are on a quarterly, nothing there. Just a reminder and also an invite, and this goes out for anybody. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock here, the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee will meet. We will have a guest speaker, Dr. Elaine Tilner from the Tennessee Historic Preservation Commission will be here to talk about the CLG program. So, open invite for everybody to come and hear that.
Okay, thank you. I do have some anniversaries here. First one is our city manager, Ty Ross, and he's been here 6 years. He's not here tonight. He has a very good excuse for not being here. He's dropped his son off to West Point this weekend, so he'll probably be back in the office, I guess, tomorrow sometime this week. So we thank City Manager Ty Ross for his 6 years. Sam Harrison, 19 years, Loudon Police Department. Megan Hull, thank you for your 23 years.
Thank
Working
you.
for,
It is June.
you didn't know that?
I forgot about
Oh.
June.
And then Kent Russell, 28 years, Loudon Police Department. And then for the utilities, Jamie Miller, thank you for your 14 years working at the wastewater treatment plant. Rodney Smallin, 16 years, Electric Department. Missy Cooley, 17 years, Customer Service. Travis Williams, 24 years in the Electric Department. And then Larry Miller, the granddaddy here of this month, is 38 years with the Water Department. A long time, 38 years. So, I want to thank all those. If you run into any of these individuals, just thank them for their service. We couldn't do it without the employees, and that's our most valuable asset. So we want to thank them for their service. Any other closing comments? I do have one letter to read. This was written to myself and Ty Ross, the city manager. Dear sirs, on behalf of the Loudon Cumberland Presbyterian Church and our session of elders, this letter is to thank you and the city council for the approval and installation of 2 handicap parking places at the front corner of our church property. Our church is very appreciative of the recent approval and for the professional outline and painting of these spaces. We've already been putting the parking spots to good use, and we're grateful for your attention to helping those who need a safe and easy place to park. This will be an ongoing benefit for many years and for many citizens. We appreciate you and the city of Loudon, signed Mark Hester, the pastor of Loudon Cumberland Presbyterian Church. So I want to thank them for that. I want to pass that along to city council. Any other closing comments? Megan, you have anything we need to finish up on? You got all your notes? Melissa, anything?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for putting the PowerPoint together for tonight.
Appreciate it.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank y'all for coming.
7:14.
7:14.
Because this is a deep
Make good.